He can't be killed. That's not an opinion. That's not hype. That's literally what every single awakener who tried to take him down had to admit after the fact. They hit him with everything. Peak level strikes, special abilities, combined attacks, and he just stood there. Took it all. Like he was nothing. Like they were throwing paper balls at a stone wall, and that's when everyone realized they had made a terrible, terrible mistake. Let's go back to the beginning. His name is Kang Sok, and when the world changed, when the gates opened and monsters started pouring into reality, when ordinary people started awakening into hunters with powers beyond anything science could explain, Kang Sok woke up as a barbarian, not a mage, not an assassin, not one of those flashy, dual-wielding speed types everyone thinks is cool. A barbarian. The class everyone looks at with mild interest and then immediately forgets. No range, no magic, no tricks. Just raw, blunt, ugly physical power. The kind of class that works in the early stages and then falls completely apart the moment enemies start getting faster and smarter and more dangerous. At least, that's what everyone assumed. And that assumption is exactly what got every single person who underestimated Kang Sok absolutely destroyed. See, Kang Sok wasn't a normal barbarian. He wasn't even close to normal. From the moment he awakened, something about his body was different. The way he absorbed damage. The way his muscles responded to injury. The way his stamina regenerated. Other barbarians trained and pushed themselves, and maybe got tougher over time. Kang Sok just stood still and became tougher automatically. Like his body was designed from the ground up for one single purpose, to never go down. His first gate is a disaster by normal standards. He goes in with a group of other newly awakened hunters, all of them nervous, all of them excited, all of them thinking this is going to be some big heroic moment. The monsters hit them immediately. 2 hunters get thrown back in the first 5 seconds. A third one screams and retreats. The formation breaks and suddenly it's chaos. Kang Sok gets hit. Hard, right across the chest, by a monster that looks like something between a bear and a nightmare. The kind of hit that would cave in a normal person's ribs. The kind of hit that should put a brand new hunter into critical condition immediately. He stumbles back half a step, then he looks down at the damage. Then he looks back up at the monster. Then he walks forward. That's it. That's the whole reaction. He just walks forward. No dramatic speech. No awakening music playing in his head. He walks forward, grabs the monster with both hands and starts hitting it back. And every single time he gets struck, every hit that lands on him, something inside his body activates. Some mechanism that shouldn't exist at that level. His endurance spikes. His pain tolerance increases. His defense builds in real time like compound interest. The more he gets hurt, the less effective the hurt becomes. By the time the gate closes and his group stumbles out the other side, Kang Sok has absorbed enough damage to kill 3 fully geared intermediate hunters. And he's standing there with minor bruises. The other hunters stare at him like he's something that crawled out of a different story entirely. They're not wrong. Word spreads fast in the Awakener community. You can't keep secrets in a world where everyone is competing for rank, for gates, for survival. People talk, and the story of the barbarian who just stood in place and took hits like a mountain starts circulating immediately. Some people think it's exaggerated. Some people think he got lucky with a weak gate. Some people think he'll plateau fast because barbarians always plateau fast. One person thinks something completely different. His name is Director Choi, and Director Choi runs a mid-tier hunter organization called the Crimson Wall Guild, which is exactly as aggressive as the name sounds. He hears about Kang Sok and he doesn't see a novelty. He doesn't see a fluke. He sees a resource, a shield, a wall, something you put at the front of a raid and let take hits while everyone else cleans up safely from behind. He approaches Kang Sok directly and makes an offer. Join the guild. Run raids with them. In exchange, he gets a salary, equipment support, and access to higher tier gates that he couldn't enter alone. Kang Sok thinks about it. Then he says yes. And that's where things get complicated. The Crimson Wall Guild is not a nice place. Director Choi is not a nice man. The organization runs on a very clear hierarchy where older, more established hunters get the credit, the loot, and the ranking points while newer members do the dangerous work and get told they're lucky for the opportunity. It's a system designed to exploit people who are desperate, people who need resources and protection and don't have anywhere else to turn. Kang Sok figures this out within his first week. He's not slow. He sees exactly what's happening. He sees how the senior hunters position themselves safely while he takes the heaviest contact with every gate's monsters. He sees how the loot distribution conveniently always gives the best items to the people who did the least fighting. He sees the smirks. He hears the whispers. The other junior hunters call him useful behind his back like he's equipment, not a person. Here's the thing, though. He stays. Not because he's desperate. Not because he's afraid. He stays because he's learning. Every gate he enters, he's testing himself. Every hit he absorbs, he's measuring how far his body has come. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't complain. He just works. And the whole time, quietly, invisibly, he's becoming something the Crimson Wall Guild didn't plan for, and definitely isn't prepared to handle. The first time it becomes obvious that something has shifted is during a B-rank gate. Mid-level difficulty. Serious enough that most guilds plan carefully before entering. The Crimson Wall team goes in with 12 hunters and immediately hits a wall, because the dungeon's main monster type is an armored variant, heavy defense, fast movement, capable of hitting multiple targets at once. Hunters start getting knocked around. A mage in the rear takes a glancing hit and goes down. The formation breaks again, same as always, and the senior hunters start retreating toward the gate exit because of course they do. Preserving their own safety is always the first priority. Kang Sok steps forward. He walks directly into the center of the monster cluster, and he just stands there. 6 of them hit him simultaneously. 6 armored monsters with enough individual force to crack reinforced concrete. 6 simultaneous impacts landing on one barbarian who hasn't even taken a defensive stance. He doesn't move. He doesn't flinch. He looks around at all 6 of them with this expression that one of the surviving hunters later describes as mildly inconvenienced. Like they interrupted something more important he was doing. Then he starts swinging. Massive, brutal, economical swings. No wasted movement, no fancy technique. Just force applied directly and repeatedly until the problem stops existing. It takes 4 minutes. 4 minutes for him to eliminate an entire armored monster cluster that had just shattered the formation of a 12-person team. Alone. The senior hunters at the back stare. Director Choi, watching from the gate entrance, goes very quiet. The junior hunters who are still standing look at Kang Sok like they're not sure if they should cheer or be terrified. He walks back toward the group, rolls his shoulders once, and says they should keep moving before the next wave spawns. That's it. No speech. No posturing. Keep moving. Director Choi files that moment away his brain and begins quietly reassessing everything he thought he understood about his newest guild member. Things shift after that. Not dramatically at first. Slowly. Like the way pressure builds in a room before a storm. The senior hunters start treating Kang Sok with something adjacent to respect, which for them is already a massive change. The junior hunters start gravitating toward him during planning sessions, asking his opinion, positioning themselves near him during gates. Director Choi starts assigning him to higher difficulty raids with shorter preparation time, which sounds like a promotion but is really just extraction. They're using him harder because they finally understand how much he's worth. Kang Sok understands this too. He doesn't say anything about it, not yet. Then the S-Rank Gate notification appears. An S-Rank Gate is not something a guild like Crimson Wall should be touching. It's not about courage or preparation. It's about raw capability. S-Rank Gates require Awakeners at a level where their individual power can reshape a battlefield. Most of the hunters in Crimson Wall are solid B-ranks fighters. A few are A-ranks on a good day. An S-Rank Gate would be bringing knives to a war that requires artillery. Director Choi knows this. He also knows something the rest of the guild doesn't. He's received a private offer from a much larger organization, one of the top 5 guilds in the country, the Helix Dominion. The deal is this. If Crimson Wall can secure the gate resource point inside the specific S-Rank dungeon and hold it for 6 hours before extraction, Helix Dominion will absorb Crimson Wall as a full subsidiary, with all senior members given official ranking upgrades. For Director Choi, it's the deal of a lifetime. For the hunters he's planning to send into that gate, it's a death sentence they haven't been warned about. He doesn't tell them it's S-Rank. He logs it as an emergency A+ clearance. He picks his team carefully. He puts Kang Sok at the front, and he sends them in. The moment the gate seals behind them, everything goes wrong. The dungeon is wrong. Not just difficult, wrong. The architecture is too large. The ambient pressure is heavier than anything A-rank produces. The air itself feels like it's resisting them. 2 hunters immediately start showing signs of mana instability, which is what happens when an Awakener enters an environment that exceeds their threshold. One of the senior hunters grabs his communication device to contact the director, and the signal is blocked because, of course, S-Rank dungeons block external communication, which is in the briefing documents that Director Choi did not share. Then the first monster appears. It's massive. Not in the way B-rank monsters are massive, where you can measure the threat and calculate an approach. It's massive in the way that makes experienced hunters go silent and recalculate every assumption they've ever had about their own survival. The thing moves like it's barely paying attention to them, like they're a minor inconvenience in its territory, like it has somewhere more important to be and it'll deal with them quickly and efficiently. It charges. 3 hunters scatter. 1 manages a defensive ability in time. 2 don't and get thrown hard enough to crack the dungeon wall. Kang Sok does not scatter. He steps directly into the path of the charge. The impact is violent enough to create a visible shockwave. The ground under his feet fractures. His body gets driven back 3 full meters, boots carving furrows in the stone floor. And then he stops. His feet plant, his body locks, and the monster, still driving forward with everything it has, stops moving. Because Kang Sok is stopping it, he's holding. With both hands wrapped around the creature's massive forelimb, he's holding ground against an S-rank monster while his body does the thing it always does. The thing that has no name yet, but that every hunter present is watching with their mouths open. He's absorbing the force, converting the pressure. His defense is spiking in real time, climbing past anything A rank produces, climbing past anything that should be possible for a barbarian class at his nominal level. The monster pulls back. Then it hits him again. Direct, calculated, applying maximum force. He takes it. Again. He takes it again. And again. Every single strike that lands, his body adapts to. Every single time the monster increases force, his defense increases to match. One of the hunters watching later says it was like watching the monster teach him how to survive the monster. By the time the rest of the team rallies and begins a coordinated attack, Kang Sok has been absorbing direct hits from an S-rank entity for almost 3 full minutes. 3 minutes of continuous contact with a creature that should have atomized him in the first 5 seconds. He's bleeding. His equipment is destroyed. There are fractures in his bones that are healing visibly fast enough to see with the naked eye. He looks like he's having a hard time. He looks absolutely nothing like a person who should still be standing. He's still standing. The coordinated attack lands and the monster takes enough damage to shift its attention, pulling back into the dungeon interior. The team has bought time. Barely. But they've bought it. Kang Sok straightens up, spits blood, and looks around at the team. He says one thing. He says he wants to talk to Director Choi when they get out. Not a threat. Not yet. Just a statement of intent. But everyone present understands the weight behind it, because everyone present now knows exactly what Director Choi sent them into without telling them. And everyone present has just watched Kang Sok hold an S-rank monster for 3 minutes with his bare hands. Director Choi is about to have a conversation he is not prepared for. They survive the dungeon. It takes 6 hours and 4 near-death situations, but they survive it. Kang Sok holds the front every single time contact happens. The rest of the team covers him from range, applies pressure where they can, and focuses on not dying, which is honestly their best contribution under the circumstances. When the gate finally opens from the outside and the Helix Dominion extraction team comes in, they find 12 hunters alive, the resource point secured, and 1 barbarian standing at the front with damage across his entire body that would have killed anyone else 3 times over. The Helix Dominion team lead, a woman named Commander Yuna, looks at Kang Sok for a long moment. Then she looks at her team. Then she asks one question. She asks what his rank is. Nobody has a good answer because technically on paper he's still a B-rank awakener who hasn't formally cleared enough gates for an official advancement evaluation. On paper he's mid-tier. On paper he should not have survived a single minute of what he just came through. Commander Yuna does not care about paper. She makes a note. And that note is the beginning of something much bigger than the Crimson Wall Guild, or Director Choi, or even the Helix Dominion deal. Director Choi gets his conversation with Kang Sok the moment they're back in open air. He's prepared for anger. He has apologies ready, explanations, excuses about miscommunication and emergency decisions and the greater good of the guild. He's been managing difficult hunters his entire career and he's very good at it. He can spin almost any situation. He starts his opening line. Kang Sok lets him finish. Then Kang Sok lets him finish. Then Kang Sok lays out, quietly and in detail, exactly what Director Choi did. He does not raise his voice. He doesn't threaten. He simply states the facts in order. The gate classification. The communication blackout. The information withheld from the team. The arrangement with Helix Dominion that Director Choi's team was used to secure. The bonus that Director Choi personally received. All of it, in sequence, with complete accuracy. Director Choi goes pale. He asks how Kang Sok knows all that, and Kang Sok says he's been paying attention for a long time. Then he says he's leaving the guild, and he says that every junior hunter who was in that S-Rank gate with him is being given the choice to leave too with their full contract bonuses intact, because the alternative is that Kang Sok shares his detailed account of events with the Hunter Association's Oversight Committee, which has been investigating Crimson Wall for unrelated misclassification issues for the past 3 months. Director Choi is smart enough to recognize when he's caught. He agrees. He signs the releases. He pays the bonuses. He watches 8 of his 12 S-rank survivors walk out the door behind Kang Sok. And then he sits in his office and wonders how a barbarian just outmaneuvered him without throwing a single punch. The answer is the same answer everyone eventually arrives at when it comes to Kang Sok. He's been underestimated. That's the pattern. That's always been the pattern. He looks like blunt force. He looks like a wall you put at the front and forget about. And while everyone is busy forgetting about him, he's watching, learning, building. The 8 hunters who leave with him don't form a guild immediately. They're not ready for that, and Kang Sok knows it. What they need is time, stabilization, resources. He takes the conversation he needs to take with Commander Yuna, the one she's clearly been waiting for, and he negotiates a contract. Not a guild absorption, not a subordinate arrangement, a contract. Specific work, specific compensation, full operational independence. Commander Yuna is not used to negotiating with B-rank awakeners like their equals. She finds it annoying and deeply interesting in equal measure. She agrees to the terms because she already knows what he is. She saw him in that dungeon. She knows that whatever rank the system assigns him on paper, the real number is completely different. She'd rather have him contracted and cooperative than loose and unpredictable. The contracted work is specific. There are 3 A-rank gates in the Eastern District that have been sitting unclean for 6 weeks because the monsters inside them have a characteristic that makes conventional hunter teams ineffective. They hit hard enough and fast enough that formation tactics break down before they can be applied. The gates need something that can just stand there and take the hits long enough for secondary attackers to work. Kang Sok takes the job. He runs all 3 gates in 8 days. His team handles the secondary attacks. He handles everything else. The Hunter Association's monitoring cameras catch footage of him taking simultaneous strikes from 4 gate final monsters in a row and just working through them methodically. The footage gets internally circulated. Then it gets externally circulated. Then it gets externally circulated. Then it gets everywhere. The barbarian who can't be damaged. That's what people start calling him. Which isn't quite accurate. He can be damaged. But it is functionally true in every way that matters because damaged and stopped are 2 completely different things. And no one has managed to stop him yet. 3 separate guilds approach him in the 2 weeks following the gate footage. 2 of them make straightforward recruitment offers. The third one, the Ashen Throne Guild, makes a more complicated offer that involves Kang Sok being given a formal rank evaluation immediately, bypassing the normal queue, in exchange for exclusive affiliation. He declines all 3, which is when the aggression starts. Guilds don't always respond to rejection with grace, especially when they feel like they should have gotten a yes. The Ashen Throne Guild in particular has a reputation for making problems for hunters who don't cooperate with them. Nothing direct, nothing provable. Just friction. Gate access complications. Equipment supplier cancellations. Quiet pressure applied through the industry network they've spent years building. Kang Sok notices the friction immediately. He doesn't panic. He adjusts. He reroutes. He finds independent suppliers, alternative gate access through association channels, different paths through every obstacle they put in front of him, and every time he routes around one of their blocks, he documents it, records the dates, the contacts involved, the pattern of interference, building a file. The 8 hunters with him watch this and say nothing because by now they understand something fundamental about Kang Sok. He is never just doing one thing. What you see on the surface is never the whole operation. He is always playing a longer game than the one you think you're watching. Then the Ashen Throne Guild makes their first direct move. They approach one of Kang Sok's 8 hunters separately, an A-rank mage named Sora, and they offer her an extraordinary individual contract. Triple her current rates, formal ranking support, immediate guild membership with full senior status. Sora turns it down. Then they approach her again and suggest that staying with Kang Sok might not be the safest long-term choice. Not a direct threat. Just a suggestion. Delivered by a very large senior guild hunter who happens to catch up with her after a solo supply run. She reports it to Kang Sok immediately. He reads her report, he adds it to the file. Then he tells her to accept the next approach if it comes, agree to the meeting, and wear a recording device. She asks if that's legal. He says she's not recording anyone, she's documenting her own safety situation, which is completely different. She does it. The meeting produces material that is not technically an explicit threat, but is absolutely the kind of thing that makes the Hunter Association's Oversight Committee deeply interested in following up. Kang Sok submits the file. The full file. Everything he's been building since the Ashen Throne Guild first started applying friction. The committee opens a formal investigation. The Ashen Throne Guild pulls back. Fast. Suddenly they have no more interest in Kang Sok's group. No more friction. No more offers. They become very busy focusing inward while the investigation runs. Kang Sok's 8 hunters look at each other after they hear the news. Someone says it out loud. They say this man beat the Crimson Wall director, negotiated with Helix Dominion as a nominal B ranks, cleared 3 A ranks problem gates, turned down 3 guild offers, and then buried the Ashen Throne Guild using paperwork. He did all of it without once losing a fight he didn't choose, and without once using power he didn't need to. Someone asks what exactly they've signed up for. The answer becomes clearer a few weeks later when the formal rank evaluation finally processes and comes back with a result that causes a very notable silence in the Hunter Association's regional office. Not because the result is surprising to anyone who's been paying attention. It's surprising because the number is so far above where he was classified that it throws every previous data point into a completely different context. Kang Sok's official ranking is elevated directly to S-Class, not A. Not high A with exceptional clearance. S. The first Barbarian class Awakener to reach S-Rank evaluation in the country's recorded history. The committee notes specifically that his defensive capability exceeds any previously recorded measurement for the class type, and that his resilience mechanism appears to be a unique variant with no established comparison data. They use careful clinical language to describe what is actually a completely unprecedented situation. Unofficially, the hunter community has a simpler way to say it. He cannot be killed. And the moment that classification goes public, everything changes. Not in a slow, gradual way. In the way that a pressure system breaks. Suddenly, completely. All at once. Every major guild in the country sends formal outreach within 48 hours. The Helix Dominion, which technically has first mover advantage through their existing contract, escalates immediately to partnership-level discussions. 3 international organizations reach out through cross-border channels. The Hunter Association itself sends a liaison to discuss national gate response protocols, which is a very diplomatic way of saying they want to know if they can count on him when something truly catastrophic arrives. And something truly catastrophic is exactly what's coming. There are rumors, have been for months, reports from hunters running gates in the northern region, high-risk territory where the gate density is heavier and the monsters are consistently a class above what they should be for the area. Reports of coordinated movement, reports of monster behavior that looks less like instinct and more like strategy. Reports of a dungeon signature that doesn't match any recorded gate type, which means it's either a new variant or something that existed before the gate cataloging system was established. The association has been monitoring it quietly. Now they're monitoring it less quietly. And the liaison sitting across from Kang Sok in a very neutral conference room explains in careful language that the northern situation may require a response team assembled specifically for sustained contact scenarios, meaning a scenario where the front line needs to hold for an extended period under extreme pressure, meaning they need a wall. The liaison asks if Kang Sok would be available for consultation. He looks at the liaison for a moment. He looks at the file on the table between them. The classified briefing documents about the northern situation that the liaison brought and clearly expects him to find overwhelming. He asks what the gate classification is. The liaison says they don't have a confirmed classification yet. Kang Sok says he wants to go to the northern region and see it himself before any agreements are made. The liaison nods like, this is a reasonable professional request. And it is a reasonable professional request. But it's also Kang Sok being exactly what he's always been. He wants to see it with his own eyes. He wants to stand near it and measure it against himself. He wants to know, the way he's always known everything about his own limits, whether this is something his body can absorb. He suspects it is. He's been tested by S-Rank monsters in an uncontrolled dungeon environment at a point in his development that was still early. What he is now is not what he was then. What he is now has been through every single gate, every single hit, Every single calibration his system has run on itself during all that time. Every impact that landed has become part of him. Every force that tried to stop him has become information his body stored and adapted around. He is not the same person who walked into that first gate, nervous and wondering what a barbarian class was going to amount to. He walks into the Northern Region access point 3 days later with his core team, a handful of association personnel, and no advance announcement, because advance announcements have a way of creating political complications that he has no interest in managing right now. The gate signature is there. They find it in under 4 hours, and it is nothing like what the classified briefing suggested. It is larger. It is older. The energy coming off it is the kind that makes experienced hunters stop walking and stand very still for a moment, reassessing everything they brought with them. The association personnel are reporting readings their equipment wasn't designed to process, which is a polite way of saying the numbers are outside the scale they expected to need. One of Kang Sok's team, a hunter named Dojin, who has been with him since the very beginning, since the Crimson Wall days, stands next to him looking at the gate and asks very quietly what they're going to do. Kang Sok looks at it for a long time. He says they're going to need to know what's inside before anyone makes a decision about response protocols. Dojin asks if he means they're going to go in and look. He says yes. Dojin says that is an absolutely insane thing to suggest. Kang Sok says he's aware. Then he starts walking toward the gate entrance. And here's the thing that makes Dojin follow him, that makes the whole team follow him, that makes even 2 of the association personnel who absolutely should know better start moving forward behind him. It's not charisma. It's not a speech. It's not because he told them to. It's because every person present has seen what he is, what he can take, what he comes back from, and somewhere in the part of their brain that calculates risk and survival probability, they've all arrived at the same conclusion. If he's walking in, the probability of anyone in that group dying goes down dramatically, because whatever is on the other side of that gate is going to have to go through him first, and nothing has managed to do that yet. The gate swallows them. The temperature drops immediately. The air pressure changes. There's a sound, low and constant, like something breathing that is very large and very close and not at all concerned about the group that just arrived. The light inside is wrong, too dark in some places, too bright in others, casting strange angles across a space that's larger than any dungeon they've mapped at any rank. Dojin whispers that this is bad. Kang Sok agrees. He says it clearly and without drama. Then he raises his fists and walks into the dark. The first thing that comes out of it is not a monster. It's a presence, a pressure that hits the whole group like a physical force, like someone applied gravity specifically and personally to each of them. Half the team staggers. 2 hunters drop to one knee. Kang Sok leans into it like he's walking into a headwind. He doesn't stop walking. And then the presence focuses. It narrows. It points itself directly at him like it's recognized something, like it's identified the biggest threat in the room and decided to address it specifically. The pressure on everyone else eases slightly. On him it doubles. His feet push into the stone floor. Cracks form under his boots. His shoulders pull back. Every muscle in his body is working. His face is completely calm. The darkness ahead of them shifts. Something is in there. Something that is not a monster in the way they've understood monsters. Something that has been waiting. Something that recognized the gate energy being disturbed from the outside and has been watching them move through the dungeon entrance and has decided, apparently, that it's time to introduce itself. A voice comes out of the dark. Not a roar. A voice. Clear and structured and in a language none of them have ever heard spoken, but that somehow, they all understand perfectly. It asks who dares to enter this territory. Kang Sok stops walking. He stands in the focused pressure, which is still crushing down on him with everything it has. Cracks spreading under his feet, his body absorbing force in real time, and he answers. He says his name is Kang Sok. He says he came to assess the situation, and he says he'd appreciate it if whatever's talking would show itself. Silence. Long silence. Then something shifts in the dark ahead of them. Movement. Shape. Scale. Something that is much, much larger than what any of them were prepared for, even with all the warning the readings gave them, even knowing intellectually that this gate was beyond normal parameters. The reality of its size is something else entirely. It steps into the edge of the light, and Dojin, who has seen S-rank dungeons and faced down things that rewrote his understanding of danger, makes a sound that is very small and very involuntary. Kang Sok looks at the thing in front of him. He looks at it for a real moment. long enough to measure it, long enough for his body to start processing the pressure it's generating, and begin the calibration that always happens, the silent internal adjustment, the ratcheting up of whatever it is inside him that refuses to yield. Then he does something that no one present was expecting. He takes one step forward, just one, deliberate, unhurried, a single step toward a being that makes S-rank dungeon bosses look like a warm-up. The voice in the dark is silent for a moment. Then it says something that none of them expect. It says it has not met a human who moved toward it in a very long time, and Kangsok, standing in a pressure field that's cracking stone under his feet and would fold any other hunter in the country flat in under 30 seconds, says he imagines not. The situation in the dungeon ahead is something none of them have briefing documents for. No maps, no monster profiles, no established protocol. Whatever happens next, whatever is behind that voice and that scale and that pressure, they're going to be handling it without a template. But here's what they have that they didn't have in the Crimson Wall days, that they didn't have in the first A-rank gates, that they didn't have even in the S-rank dungeon where everything started becoming clear. They have Kangsuk's rank, the only barbarian class awakener in recorded history to reach that classification, a man whose body converts damage into endurance and force into resilience. A man who has stood in front of everything thrown at him and walked out the other side. A man who just stepped toward an unknown entity of unmeasured threat level because that's what he does. He steps toward the thing that's supposed to stop him. It hasn't worked yet, and somewhere, in the dark, in the silence after that one deliberate step forward, the entity in the dungeon is doing something it has not done in centuries. It's reconsidering,